the night of the living collection. The air on Halloween night hung thick and damp, smelling of wood smoke, decay, and the sickly sweet promise of cheap candy. Inside his house, Lenny didn't notice. He was a man cocooned in his own macabre world. A world perfectly distilled into the black hoodie he wore, emblazoned with the word horror in dripping red font, and the sprawling, unsettling collection that filled every shelf and corner of his living room. He'd bought the last piece just that afternoon, a vintage Boglin's hand puppet, its rubbery, grimacing face staring out from the tissue paper. It sat now on his coffee table, nestled among his pride and joy, an immaculate, original Chucky doll, its eyes glinting in the dim light of a flickering jack-o'-lantern, and a towering Jason Voorhees action figure, machete raised. A loud, frantic rap on the door trick-or-treaters jolted him. Lenny ignored it, settling deeper into his worn recliner. This was his night, the one night the world felt truly right, filled with the things he loved. He reached for a bowl of pretzels, and that's when he heard it. A sound like dry, cracked leather scraping on polished wood. He froze. It came from the low shelf to his right, home to his bizarre assembly of fugglers, those grinning, toothy dolls with human-like dentures. One, a ragged, purple beast with a missing eye button, seemed to have shifted. It hadn't been facing the television, had it? Lenny scoffed, rubbing his tired eyes. Too much caffeine. He looked back at the shelf. The purple fuggler had definitely turned. Then, from the shadows of a far corner, a faint, rasping giggle echoed. It was wet like a child's cough. Lenny's blood turned to ice. He knew that sound. It was the laugh of the plastic horror doll sitting next to his Freddy Krueger figure, a custom-made porcelain doll with long, dark hair and disturbingly realistic, wide-set eyes. He'd never heard it make a sound. It was a doll. He snatched up the remote and flicked on the overhead light. The sudden brightness flooded the room, revealing the collection in all its meticulously arranged glory. Everything was still. The fugglers leered silently. Chucky grinned, frozen. "Okay, pal," Lenny muttered, his voice hoarse. "You're tired? Go to bed." As he pushed himself out of the chair, the Chucky doll on the coffee table twitched. Just a flicker, a slight rotation of its head, its stitched-up smirk now angled directly at him. Lenny stumbled back, knocking his pretzel bowl to the floor. The crunch of the shattered porcelain was deafening. The doll whispered, its voice raspy yet childishly menacing. "You looking for a friend till the end, Lenny?" The doll moved, slowly swinging its legs off the table. The poltergeist energy he dismissed as imagination was undeniably real, a cold, malevolent fog now filling the room. It was infusing his entire collection, his sanctuary, with a hideous, kinetic life. The action figures began to stir. The Jason Voorhees figure, a foot-tall replica of the unstoppable killer, took its first deliberate step off the shelf, its boots landing on the thick carpet with a soft thud. Beside it, the miniaturized claw-handed Freddy Krueger sprang to life, dragging its fingers across a nearby wooden cabinet with a chilling A loud, shattering noise came from the hallway. Lenny's massive 6-foot-tall Michael Myers statue, usually rigid in its stoic pose, had ripped itself from its stand. Its blank, white mask was turned toward the living room entrance. The sheer scale of that figure, now walking with unnatural purpose, made Lenny's stomach clench into a knot of pure terror. The Boglin's puppet, still on the coffee table, unfurled its large rubber mouth and began to shriek, a thin, high-pitched wail that seemed to vibrate his teeth. "You like your toys, Lenny?" Chucky cackled, dropping to the floor and waddling toward him with surprising speed. "We like you too. We just want to play a little game." Lenny lunged backward, scrambling over the arm of his chair, adrenaline finally overriding his paralyzing fear. He needed a weapon, anything. He glanced at the fireplace mantel, a heavy bronze poker. Before he could reach it, the fugglers attacked. They vaulted off the shelf like repulsive, snarling rats, dozens of them. They weren't just waddling, they were scrabbling, their horrifying dental work snapping. One latched onto his ankle, its tiny sharp teeth ripping through his jeans and drawing a surprised yelp of pain. He kicked it off, sending it tumbling toward a Chucky plush that was now inflating, growing larger and more imposing, its cloth features twisting into a malevolent, soft mask. He made it to the mantelpiece. He grabbed the poker just as the foot-tall Jason rounded the edge of the couch. The miniature machete swung, a blur of tiny steel. Lenny dodged, the blade grazing his cheek, leaving a thin, burning line of blood. "Get back." Lenny screamed, swinging the bronze poker. It connected with a sickening crunch against Jason's plastic head. The figure went down, but its legs kept twitching, still trying to drag itself forward. He turned, seeing the massive, hulking form of Michael Myers filling the doorway. The statue's hand, holding the classic kitchen knife, raised slowly. This wasn't a toy anymore. This was a 6-foot killing machine, a living embodiment of the ultimate slasher. Lenny didn't hesitate. He thrust the poker. It pierced the statue's soft rubber torso with a wet tearing sound, but it barely slowed the giant down. From behind him, a small, cold hand wrapped around his Achilles tendon. It was the original Chucky doll, its eyes alight with demonic glee. "I'm going to make you bleed, Lenny. Then we can all watch you scream." Lenny screamed, not just from fear, but from the sudden, agonizing pain as Chucky sank its plastic teeth into his heel, pulling him backward. He stumbled, the poker clattering away. He looked up just as the Michael Myers statue brought its heavy knife down in a wide, sweeping arc. The last thing Lenny saw wasn't the glint of the knife, but the multitude of faces surrounding him, the grinning boglins, the snarling fugglers, the cold, calculating stares of the plastic horror dolls, and the triumphant, demonic smirk of the original Chucky. His prized collection had finally come to life to play. And the game was deadly. Then everything goes black. Eyes open slowly, he starts to see shapes and colors. As his eyes slowly open back up, he notices that his hands, legs and arms are not moving. Not only that he can't move his eyeballs, he can only just see. He hears a creak, but can't look to see what it is within seconds. He can see a little boy, his son, walking into the room looking for his father, saying, "Daddy, Daddy," his little boy holding a chrome mask in his hand. And as his little boy passes, he catches a reflection of himself in the chrome mask. And what does he see? He has shrunken to the size of a 6-inch action figure and has been placed on a shelf.